The warning. The massive alien vessel appeared without warning, materializing just beyond Earth's moon with no detectable approach trajectory. Global defense systems went immediately to high alert as the ship, nearly 3 kilometers in length and shaped like an elongated teardrop, simply hung motionless in space, its obsidian black surface absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Commander Ilara Voss had trained her entire life for first contact. As head of the United Earth Defense Force's Xenological Response Division, she had run countless simulations and prepared for every conceivable scenario. But as her shuttle approached the alien vessel, she felt woefully unprepared. "Commander, they're transmitting again," Lieutenant Cato said, his fingers dancing across the comm panel. "Same message as before." Ilara nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the looming ship through the viewport. "Play it." A voice filled the cabin, speaking perfect English, but with an unsettling resonance that seemed to vibrate through Ilara's bones rather than simply entering her ears. "People of Earth, we come as harbingers. The sleepers stir. We request immediate counsel with your leaders. Time grows short." The message had repeated every 15 minutes since the vessel's arrival 6 hours ago. No variation, no elaboration, just those 4 ominous sentences. "Approach vector locked," announced the pilot. "We're cleared for their docking bay." The shuttle glided toward a suddenly appearing aperture in the alien vessel's hull. Ilara checked her team. 2 xenolinguists, a physicist, a diplomat, and 3 security officers. All wore expressions of controlled tension. "Remember," Ilara said, "we represent all of humanity. First impressions matter." The docking bay was cavernous, bathed in amber light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. As the team exited their shuttle, they faced a delegation of 5 beings. Ilara's breath caught in her throat. The aliens stood nearly 3 meters tall, with slender bodies that seemed almost translucent. 6-fingered hands extended from elongated arms. Their heads were smooth and featureless except for 3 large, vertically oriented eyes that glowed with inner light. 1 azure, 1 amber, 1 emerald. They wore no visible clothing, but their bodies appeared to be covered in intricate, luminescent patterns that shifted continuously. "We are the Seraphim," said the central figure, its voice creating that same bone-deep resonance. "I am Designation Sentinel. We have traveled a great distance to reach your world." Ilara stepped forward. "I am Commander Ilara Voss of Earth. We welcome you and seek to understand your message." The alien called Sentinel tilted its head. "You do not understand what sleeps beneath your feet, Commander. Few worlds harbor them anymore. Most were purged long ago." "Harbor what?" asked Ilara, fighting to maintain her professional demeanor despite the chill that ran down her spine. "The Ancient Ones, the Shapers, they sleep deep within your planet's core, entwined with your world's very essence." Sentinel's triple eyes pulsed in sequence, and they are beginning to awaken. Within hours, Ilara found herself in a hastily arranged summit at the United Nations headquarters in New York. The Seraphim delegation stood before representatives from every nation, delivering their warning with clinical precision. "Billions of years ago," Sentinel explained, "entities of immense power and incomprehensible consciousness seated themselves throughout the galaxy. They'd merged with planetary cores, becoming one with the worlds they inhabited. Your scientists might call them living planets, but that vastly undersells their nature." Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing strange energy patterns detected across Earth's surface. Patterns the Seraphim claimed had always been present, but were only now becoming active enough for human instruments to detect. "These patterns are neural networks," said another Seraphim called Observer. "They span your entire planet, through ocean trenches, mountain ranges, forest root systems, and atmospheric currents. They are the dreaming thoughts of what sleeps within your world." "Are you suggesting Earth itself is alive, conscious?" asked the Secretary General. "Not Earth," Sentinel corrected. "What lives within Earth? It shaped your world, guided its evolution, perhaps even influenced the development of your species. Ilara studied the energy pattern displays, noticing how they corresponded with major ecosystems and geological features. You said these entities were purged from other worlds. What exactly does that mean? A noticeable silence fell across the Seraphim delegation before Sentinel responded. Early spacefaring civilizations feared these entities. They developed weapons capable of severing the neural networks, poisoning the planetary cores, and eliminating the ancient ones. You're talking about planet killing, Ilara said, her voice hardening. Is that why you're here? To purge Earth? No, Sentinel replied too quickly. We come to warn. To prepare you. For what? Demanded the Chinese representative. For the awakening, said Observer. The ancient one within your world stirs after billions of years of dormancy. When it fully awakens, reality itself may bend to its will. The summit dissolved into chaos as leaders argued about how to respond. Some advocated immediate cooperation with the Seraphim, while others suspected darker motives. Ilara remained silent, watching the aliens carefully. Something about their explanation felt incomplete. Over the following days, research teams deployed globally to investigate the energy patterns. Ilara led the primary expedition to the Mariana Trench, where the strongest signals emanated from the ocean floor. Their submersible descended through crushing depths, sophisticated sensors scanning for the mysterious neural networks. Commander, these readings make no sense, said Dr. Nazari, their lead physicist. The energy patterns don't conform to any known physical laws. They exist partially outside our dimensional understanding. Ilara stared through the reinforced viewport at the ocean floor below, illuminated by their submersible's lights. Can we extract a sample? The Seraphim strongly advised against direct interaction, Nazari reminded her. I'm aware, Ilara said. Deploy the probe anyway. The remote probe descended to the seafloor, its manipulator arm extending toward a region where their sensors detected the strongest energy signatures. The moment the probe touched the seabed, a pulse of brilliant blue light erupted outward. The submersible systems fluctuated wildly. Energy surge, shouted the pilot. All systems compromised. The viewport no longer showed the dark ocean floor. Instead, Ilara found herself staring into what appeared to be an endless field of stars. Except these stars moved with purpose, swirling and connecting like neurons firing in a vast brain. Then came the voice, not heard through her ears, but somehow resonating directly within her mind. Ancient, curious, awakening. Who disturbs my slumber after so long? Ilara couldn't speak, couldn't move. The voice wasn't threatening, merely inquisitive, but its sheer power overwhelmed her senses. I sense the Purgers have returned to this realm. They fear what they cannot control. As suddenly as it appeared, the starfield vanished. The submersible systems returned to normal. Ilara gasped, realizing she'd been holding her breath. Did everyone experience that? She asked, her voice shaking. Her team's stunned expressions answered her question. We need to get back to the surface, she ordered. Now. Upon returning to base, Ilara found the Seraphim waiting. Sentinel's triple eyes pulsed rapidly, their equivalent of agitation. You have disturbed it, Sentinel accused. You have accelerated the awakening. We touched the neural network, yes, Ilara acknowledged, and it communicated with us. It called you Purgers. The Seraphim delegation grew unnaturally still. You haven't been entirely honest with us, Ilara continued. You're not here to warn us. You're here because you fear what's awakening on Earth. You cannot comprehend the danger, Sentinel said. These entities reshape reality to their whims. They cannot be reasoned with or controlled. Yet your ancestors tried to destroy them anyway, Ilara pushed. How many worlds did you sterilize in your crusade against what you didn't understand? Observer stepped forward. Thousands. We eliminated thousands of worlds harboring the ancient ones, all except yours. Why not Earth? Asked Nazari. Your world developed an unexpected defense mechanism, Sentinel explained reluctantly. You, humans, Ilara questioned. Your species evolved with remarkable speed and adaptability, Observer said. You developed consciousness and technology far faster than any species we've encountered. Our analysis suggests the Ancient One guided your evolution specifically to create protectors. We're just guard dogs, Ilara asked incredulously. No, Sentinel replied. You are its children, and now that it stirs, you have become its greatest defense against those who would destroy it. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the base. A junior officer burst into the room. Commander, multiple objects just appeared in orbit. They're massive, and they're not responding to hails. Ilara looked at Sentinel, whose luminescent patterns had begun to pulse rapidly. You didn't come alone, did you? The purifying fleet follows, Sentinel acknowledged. They will do what must be done. They'll try to destroy Earth, Ilara realized, horror dawning on her face. Yes, Sentinel confirmed. And everything on it. The Guardians. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Within hours, 17 massive Seraphim warships had taken position around Earth, their weapons systems charged and ready. Global military forces mobilized, but everyone knew Earth's defenses were hopelessly outmatched against such advanced technology. In the depths of the United Nations emergency bunker, Ilara confronted Sentinel as world leaders watched via secure feeds. You used us, she accused. You came as harbingers to assess the situation while your war fleet positioned itself. We hoped to find the Ancient One still dormant, Sentinel replied, unrepentant. We would have extracted your species before cleansing the planet. Extracted? You mean kidnapped and relocated 6 billion people? Ilara laughed bitterly. That was never going to happen. The Seraphim-called Observer approached, its movements more fluid than Sentinel's rigid posture. There is much you do not understand, Commander. The awakening of an Ancient One is a galactic extinction event. Reality itself becomes malleable to their will. So you say, Ilara countered. But we only have your word. You admitted your species has been destroying these entities for millennia. How do you know what a fully awakened one would actually do? Observer's triple eyes dimmed slightly. We do not. The revelation sent murmurs through the assembled leaders. You've been exterminating them based on fear, not knowledge, Ilara pressed. What if they're not the threat you believe them to be? We cannot take that risk, Sentinel interjected sharply. The purifying fleet will commence planetary sterilization in 12 of your hours. We recommend you use this time to make peace with your existence. As the Seraphim delegation departed, the human leaders erupted into panicked discussion. Military options were proposed and dismissed. Diplomatic overtures had failed. Earth stood on the brink of annihilation. Ilara sat silent amidst the chaos, her mind returning to that moment in the Mariana Trench, the vast field of stars, and the ancient voice that had touched her consciousness. It hadn't felt malevolent. It had felt curious. What if we wake it up completely? She said suddenly, cutting through the cacophony of voices. The room fell silent. The Ancient One defended itself against our probe, Ilara continued. Observer admitted they've never actually witnessed a fully awakened entity. What if its full awakening is exactly what would save us? You're suggesting we deliberately accelerate whatever process is happening? Asked the Secretary General incredulously. Yes, Ilara said firmly. The Seraphim fear these entities because they can't control them. But what if we're not meant to control it? What if we're meant to communicate with it? To work with it? Dr. Nazari, who had been analyzing data from their Mariana Trench expedition, looked up from his tablet. The neural networks are already accelerating their activity, exponentially. Whatever is happening, it may be too late to stop it anyway. Then we help it along, Ilara decided. Within hours, a desperate plan took shape. Research teams deployed to every major node in the Ancient One's neural network. Ocean trenches, mountain peaks, forest centers, and desert nexus points. Using modified versions of the probe that had made contact in the Mariana Trench, they prepared to simultaneously stimulate the mysterious energy patterns around the globe. As the teams reported ready, Elara stood in the Global Command Center, watching countdown timers and live feeds from around the world. The Seraphim warships had begun moving into their final positions. Time was running out. "All teams report ready," announced Cato. "Awaiting your command." Elara took a deep breath. "Initiate contact. All stations go." Across the planet, probes activated, sending carefully calibrated energy pulses into the Ancient One's neural pathways. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, monitoring stations began reporting massive energy fluctuations. "Commander," shouted an analyst, "the energy patterns are changing. They're synchronizing." On the main display, the previously separate neural networks began pulsing in perfect harmony, creating a planet-wide lattice of energy that grew brighter with each passing second. Then it happened. Every human on Earth felt it simultaneously, a presence in their minds, ancient beyond comprehension, yet somehow familiar. Unlike the encounter in the Mariana Trench, this presence was fully conscious, fully aware, and reaching out to every human mind on the planet at once. "My children," it communicated, not in words, but in concepts and emotions that transcended language. "The time of sleeping ends. The time of union begins." Elara gasped as knowledge flooded her consciousness. The true nature of the Ancient One, its purpose, and humanity's role in the cosmic order. The entity hadn't been guiding human evolution as a defense mechanism. It had been nurturing humanity as an extension of itself, creating a bridge between its vast consciousness and the physical universe. Humans weren't its protectors. They were its interface with reality. In orbit, the Seraphim warships began charging their planet-killing weapons. But before they could fire, Earth itself began to glow with ethereal blue light visible from space. The light coalesced into massive tendrils that reached upward from the planet's surface. "The Ancient One is responding to the threat," Nazari said in awe, watching satellite footage. "It's defending itself, defending us." The tendrils of light engulfed the Seraphim vessels, but rather than destroying them, the energy simply held them, immobilizing them completely. "Violence is unnecessary," the Ancient One communicated to all who could perceive it. "Understanding is required." In that moment, every Seraphim mind connected with the Ancient One just as humanity had. Elara watched Sentinel's luminescent patterns shift dramatically as the alien received the same flood of knowledge. You are not what we believed," Sentinel said, its voice no longer resonating with that unsettling quality. "For millennia, we destroyed your kind out of fear." "What is it?" Elara asked. "What is the Ancient One's true purpose?" Sentinel's triple eyes pulsed in a new pattern that somehow conveyed profound remorse. "They are the gardeners, the caretakers of reality itself. They don't bend reality to their whims. They maintain the underlying structure that allows reality to exist at all." Observer approached, its movements now fluid and harmonious. "We misunderstood. The neural networks we detected weren't signs of dangerous awakening. They were attempts at communication, attempts we violently rejected." Understanding dawned across human and Seraphim minds alike. The Ancient Ones were never threats to be eliminated. They were fundamental components of the cosmic ecosystem, maintaining balance across dimensions. Their awakening wasn't an extinction event. It was an evolution, a progression to the next stage of universal consciousness. And humanity's rapid development hadn't been a defensive measure. It had been preparation for partnership. In the days that followed, Earth transformed. Not physically, but in humanity's understanding of their world and their place in the universe. The Ancient One, which many began calling the Terrestrial Guardian, remained partly dormant, but now in conscious communion with humanity through the neural network that spanned the globe. The Seraphim warships departed, not as enemies but as messengers, spreading the truth about the Ancient Ones to a galaxy that had feared them for millennia. Sentinel and Observer remained on Earth as liaisons between humanity and the galactic community. 1 month after first contact, Ilara stood on a beach at sunset, feeling the subtle pulse of the Guardian's consciousness in the back of her mind, a presence now familiar to every human on Earth. Observer approached, standing beside her to watch the sun sink below the horizon. "Your world is unique in all the galaxy now," the alien said. "The only place where an ancient one and its children work in conscious harmony." "What happens next?" Ilara asked. "That is for you and the Guardian to determine," Observer replied. "But know this, the oldest civilizations in the galaxy now look to Earth not with fear, but with hope. What awakens here may guide us all into a new age of understanding." As darkness fell, Ilara gazed up at the stars, feeling both impossibly small and incredibly significant. Humanity had discovered they weren't merely inhabitants of Earth. They were extensions of it, the conscious embodiment of something ancient and vast that had shaped them for this very purpose. And the galaxy would never be the same.